render settings. All right, guys. So rendering in Revit is found. Actually, I don't even remember anymore. It should be under. Yeah, there it is. Render. So go to. Yeah, click on render. It's been so long since I've done a Revit render. So the cool thing about Revit rendering is they try to keep it pretty simple. They don't really kind of overload you with a lot of the settings and stuff that you have in other software packages. Really, it's picking a render setting, so we're going to leave it on draft for now. You can change the resolution. Screen resolution basically means how big is the view that you're working in. If you do a printer resolution, it's going to pick a pixels per inch. So I can say like 600 dpi, 75 dpi. Let's go with 150 for now. The lighting scheme here, this is actually tied. This one you can change separately, I think. I forget whether or not these settings change the global settings. I need to look into that a little more. We're going to leave it where it is for now because I like the sun position. But anyway, so you can do exterior sun only. These are like presets, guys. So it'll kind of calibrate for whatever you're doing in the set. So sun only, sun and artificial is if you have artificial lighting in the scene. Otherwise, it won't render. You can do interior and exterior. So we're going to do exterior sun only. The sky style, we're going to do sky with few clouds. I guess this is Southern California, so let's do very few clouds. The image exposure, you can change this if you want, but generally just stick to the presets for our purposes, guys. We're not getting crazy with this. And then when you're ready with that, just hit render. Okay, this little thing will pop up. It'll take a little while. I have absolutely no idea how long rendering on these computers will take. Oh, that wasn't very long. Let's go a little higher then. Let's go to medium. Render. I'm surprised that didn't take very long. All right, so let me let this run for a minute, and then we'll just take a look at it. All right, guys, so my rendering is like super low res, and I very clearly need to change the bump map on my, I probably need to completely remove the bump map on my plaster, but you get the idea. Basically, you kind of, I mean, the best looking material that we have right now is the siding material. The siding material looks pretty decent. We need to go up to a much higher DPI, probably like a 300 DPI, and then we need to set like a high setting and just let it render out for a while. But that's the gist of it, guys. Like that's kind of all you really need to do for rendering. Notice that the default glass material is kind of see-through. It's not super reflective. If you need more reflectivity, you need to add that in. But you do see the reflection of a tree. You can see the reflection of the building over here. So generally speaking, with glass in Revit, they do that pretty well as a default. You only need to change it if you have specialty conditions that you need to modify for. So what I'd like to ask you to do, don't worry so much about the entourage and environment around the building right now. I would like you to apply a wood material and then spend some time trying to calibrate your plaster because I definitely led you down the wrong direction. So take off the bump map. If you need to, you can go into Photoshop and sort of lighten it up. I'll show you guys, if you're having trouble with it, I'll show you in a separate video how to do that. But yeah, that's your introduction to the Revit rendering environment. What questions do you have? Not many? Yeah.
In terms of that reflection that's on the garage door, is that from that material being reflective?
Yeah, it should be. Oh, also, guys, let me get to your question in a second, but I do want to address a thought about kind of the overall Revit rendering environment. Guys, I want to point out to you all that why didn't that stay? I forget how to save it. Hang on, what did I do wrong here? Render, save to project. That's why. Oh, okay, so let me do a quick render again, guys. Let me set this to draft. You can tell it's been a while since I've used this. Go to draft. Render. Okay, pausing for a moment. All right, so I forgot to mention that when you close the render, you will lose the actual render, right? So you can do a few things. You can export the image and just export that out like any other JPEG that Maxwell would render or Lumion, or you can save the project. If you save the project, it actually becomes a view, a 3D view. So I'm going to call this render A. Hit OK. And that shows up under renderings. So I can literally take that render, once I close this, open up the cover sheet, and I can place that render on the cover sheet. It happens to be super huge right now, but right, so I could do something like this and put my render up there. I'm going to delete that in a second, but you get the idea. Okay, so the other follow-up question was about the reflections on the rendering. Right now it went back to draft, but you can see the tree in the building. Yes, that is due to reflectivity settings on the actual glazing. So let's pick some of that glazing, and let's go to edit type. So this material is the glass material, and let's go to appearance. You have reflectance. I don't think they're going to give you too much on that. They keep it pretty simple on the glazing.
I mean, it's on the garage door.
Yeah, the garage door is not a very awesome family. Did they even push through the materials? Cherry. Semi-gloss. So semi-gloss is going to have some. That'll have some reflectivity. Yeah. I wonder why this one doesn't have as many options. It's probably not a default material. All right. Well, you get the idea, though. So all of those are going to have some reflectivity associated with them. Okay. But you'd want to change those materials in the family. Like you can just select it, go to edit type, and you'd want to change these materials to something else. Any other questions, guys? Okay, cool. That's the Revit render environment.